Thank you for joining us, caring about your world, doing the next right and honorable thing. We have independent researcher joining us, Deborah Tavares. She has been the most requested DVD or CD of the program that we have because of her information, which she spends her time answering emails, and a lot of them, and also in doing research. And we're so pleased because we get to benefit from that research here at the Power Hour. We've got a number of things we're going to talk about, but let me tell you real quickly that the reason you have not gotten your CDs of the radio shows is because of, are you ready for this, HughesNet.com. HughesNet has a problem with what is it called? Web acceleration now. It's not just us, it's other people. You can't keep your HughesNet going long enough to be able to do a CD. And we are so sorry. And believe me, we've had some words with HughesNet. I have filed over 10 case numbers with them, and all I hear is our engineers are working on it. Our engineers are working on it. So if you're thinking about getting Gen 4, think again, unfortunately. So enough for that, but that's why you're not getting the CDs of Deborah Tavares or anybody else, because we got this little problem called HughesNet. So anyway, with that said, I want to go to our independent researcher who has so much information. She brought us Quiet Weapons for Silent Wars, and today we're going to be talking about a number of other things that may kind of put the fear of something in you, but I think it helps us understand what's about to happen. Thank you so much, Deborah, for joining us on the Power Hour today.
Well, Joyce, thank you so much for having me on again. As far as the copies of CDs, I'm going to invite everybody to call our print shop. For anybody that can't download the documents that you're going to hear us discuss today on the Power Hour, because you can download things for free on our website, stopthecrime.net. That's stopthecrime.net. But if you're unable to download any of these documents, you can call the print shop, and for print costs and shipping, they will get these to you. And you can call area code 707-586-9558. Again, area code 707-586-9558. And Joyce, there are many things that I want to cover today, and I'm going to zoom by some of these things a little bit faster than I would like. But everybody, just listen carefully, and you can download again all these documents off of stopthecrime.net. We know that in the news over the past number of weeks has been the bankruptcy in Chicago. And I'm just looking at a news report today on the Drudge that talks about the pension crisis that endangers Chicago's future. And they talk about how more and more teachers are losing jobs. Thousands fewer police and firefighters are now on duty. And there's less frequent trash collection and miles of potholed roads going unrepaired all over the property. And property taxes are soaring. So I want to have everybody go to stopthecrime.net, click on the just added feature on the home page, and scroll down, and you're going to see a Public Securities Rulemaking Board Public Pension Discussion Series on unfunded pension obligations. And on the just added link on stopthecrime.net, that report is entitled Immediate Release, the Scheme to Rob the American Pension Funds, Law Firm Says. Now, this is a 139-page document, and it will tell you exactly what is planned for the American pension holders. It's quite disturbing, to say the least, because, of course, we know that by and large the public believes the illusion of a functioning constitutional government, and that perception we know is completely opposite of our reality. And more people are realizing, of course, that we are in USA Inc., and we're run by major mega corporations and banks that, of course, are posing as a legitimate government, and they are not. And we are all collateralized against the debt during the bankruptcy of 1933, and we are also classified as the enemies of the state. And you can get to all of this information, and you can look at Senate Report 93549, dated 1973. That's on the homepage of stopthecrime.net to understand you are the enemy. So being that war was declared in the Silent Weapons Quiet Wars document, using silent weapons assaults on all of us with mass frequencies, with the economy, with every aspect of our lives. It's extremely important to download this 39-page document and understand how they're scheming to bankrupt the cities through Chapter 9 bankruptcy and allow the unfunded pension funds to just vaporize. It's just going to vaporize as it did in Chicago. What I found interesting in this document is what they said about the conclusion, and this is a quote on page 138. Conclusion: the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. The pension unfunding crisis has reached a level of insanity. It is now time for a change. Adult supervision and hard determination is what is affordable and what is not, and we must tell the public. So this is the conclusion in a law firm's presentation. They also start out with an introduction that I thought was very worrisome, and why everybody should download this. Again, it's on the just added feature of stopthecrime.net. Scroll down. It's called the immediate release, the scheme to rob the American pension funds. The introduction says the present global economic conditions have increased the possibility that many sovereigns will experience significant cash flow problems and ensuing financial crises, such as Greece, Portugal, Spain, Italy, Ireland, Latvia, the Ukraine, Romania, etc. The major repeating theme is that such sovereigns have incurred obligations that are unaffordable and unrealistic. Pension funds have doomed the financial futures of many sovereigns. The sovereign crisis must be addressed to avoid damaging the financial market and to support the perception that sovereigns, including state and local governments in the USA, have the ability to manage their financial affairs and thereby avoid unfriendly credit markets going forward and the inability to fund the government services that citizens expect. So this is a perception. So I would recommend everyone download this document, read this, go before your county board of supervisors, all your city council members, let them know you know that these are the decisions they're going to make because they're following the rule book that's dictated through the United Nations. This is all a scheme. This is all part of the Silent Weapons Quiet Wars assault up on the United States, every city, every town, everywhere. And that's why it's critically important to understand how you became the enemy of the state and understand that a silent weapons system of warfare has been declared. Now, I'm going to go into another subject. We're under massive assault, of course, everyone knows, with frequencies that are being waged right now. We are in a psychotronic weaponized warfare. It's going to create massive mind intrusion, mind control through quantum computers. This is mind theft. This is invasion of the human brain with artificial intelligence, controlling our specific thoughts, emotions, directing our physical actions into unsuspecting human beings. Now, why am I saying this? We know what smart meters are all about. We know that it's an incarceration grid. We know that the microwave radiation is damaging our cells. It's causing cell breakage and cell death. We have a symptoms page on the top scroll of stopthecrime.net. You'll see a moving scroll just right underneath the home page, stopthecrime.net. I would recommend that everyone download the symptoms. It's about microwave radiation frequencies, Wi-Fi symptoms, and how they're jamming our immune systems. Now, the reason I'm recommending everyone download the symptoms is we've got an emergency situation happening right now in all of our cities, in every town across the United States. And I'm going to get into that because this is what everyone can get involved in right now. In fact, it's pretty simple. We must challenge tyranny wherever and however we can, and we must enlist all the allies that we can. We have to find a common cause in this fight for the truth. And if Goliath is to prevail, we can't let it be for the lack of many Davids to oppose him. So with that having been said, this is what everybody can do in their cities right now, and it's going to be something that you're going to want to do when you hear this. Right now, for example, in Sonoma County, in Northern California, an hour north of the Golden Gate Bridge, we have just started a kickoff with the presentation of a climate action plan. Now, what is a climate action plan? Well, a climate action plan is a plan that was devised years ago to take over all energy. It's under technocracy. And what is so important to understand is that this is going worldwide. It's called C.A.P for short, and of course we identify C.A.P as controlling all people. Just remember, climate action plans is referred to as C.A.P. Remember, this is controlling of all people. This is also involving the mandatory deployment of all smart meters and all RFID chipped Energy Star appliances. There is no choice. All the opt-outs was strictly an illusion. I've had that article up on Stop the Crime Now for quite some time. Again, on the home page, you can also download the utility and the sociology department's report out of Vanderbilt University that shows how they've manipulated the opposition and the smart meter pushback movement, and how they've just simply slowed down the deployment to give the illusion that the utilities and everyone is listening to us. They are not. Coming in the back door in every city, in your planning departments, is the climate action plan.
Okay, we've got to go to this break. It is 19 after the hour. We'll be back with Deborah Tavares. This is Joyce Riley and the Power Hour. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Power Hour. Thank you for joining us, caring about your world. A real shout-out here. If you all know where we can get some metal 50-pound pails, we got something special for you that's going to be created. If we can find some metal 50-pound pails, if anybody knows where to find that, email me at thepowerhour@thepowerhour.com. We're talking to Deborah Tavares today, and she is documented to the hilt in everything that she says, so pay attention. And, of course, the CDs, whenever we can get them to you, will be available from the Power Mall when and if Usenet can get Gen 4 fixed. So let's get back to Deborah Tavares. Go ahead, Deborah.
Yes, Joyce, I just want to clarify where people can find the attorneys, the law firm that confirms how the pension funds will be stolen. Go to stopthecrime.net. Right at the top, you'll see just added. Click on that and scroll down maybe 4 or so inches on the left-hand side. You're going to see immediate release, the scheme to rob the American pension funds. You can click on that link. You can also read some of the excerpts from the pension fund or scheme, and then also at the bottom there's a full PDF. So at the top or at the bottom of the article that we've pulled out some important points, you can download that 139-page scheme. And so if anyone has any questions, of course, and you cannot download it, you can, for just the cost of shipping and handling, contact the print shop, area code 707-586-9558. Once again, 707-586-9558. Now, I want to move into what we were talking about just prior to the break, and that is the Climate Action Plan. This is a global plan. This plan was presented way back, and it is also a plan that you can find ICLEI. It's ICLEI, I-C-L-E-I, is International Local Governments, and it is international scheme to create climate change policies that are going to affect the business model in your city, in your town, everywhere. And ICLEI, again, the United Nations, arm of the United Nations, has a climate action plan template. The intention of this climate action plan is global, and it is occurring right now in your town. So what does it mean? Well, it's based upon the false science of global warming. And we do have a link on the top of stopthecrime.net. I would refer everybody to that now if you're on your computers. Go to that link and open it up, and you will see what we have posted there. It's critical information. It needs everybody's engagement in your town right now. So you can go to that link, again, Climate Action Plan, full page, and take a look at what we have posted so you'll know what I'm talking about right now. These plans are all the same nationwide. They're either called climate action plans or energy action plans. Okay, so what does that mean? That means in your town right now, your planning department is working on this climate action plan by executive order, by the way. And your city council is going to approve it. In Sonoma County, just last week, there was a kickoff where each town presented their climate action plan conversation for the public. I can tell you this is anything but an opportunity for the public. You have to realize and always remember that this is all schemed. This is the Delphi technique. It's all about exploiting the meeting. They're deceptive meeting practices. They're set up under international manipulation corporations to push through agendas. And everyone leaves scratching their head as they do on every single issue, not knowing what happened. Well, it's the same thing in these meetings. The Climate Action Plan is requiring us in Northern California to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions 25% below 1990 levels by December 31st of 2015. I'm going to repeat that. We must reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, CO2, 25% below 1990 levels by 2015. Now, how are we going to do that? Well, I'm going to read you a number of things that are required under the Climate Action Plan. But first, I want to tell you that the Climate Action Plan is under the direction of the U.S. Department of Energy, and when I look at the Climate Action Plan for Santa Rosa, California, which again is posted on stopthecrime.net under the Climate Action Plan link at the top of the homepage, it talks about how this report was prepared as an account of work sponsored by the agency of the United States government. And they go on to say neither the United States government nor any agency, therefore, or their employees makes any warranty, express or implied, or assumes any legal liability or responsibility for the action.
Okay. Got to go to the break. 3-minute break. We'll be back with Deborah Tavares. 33 minutes after the hour. Thank you for joining us, caring about the world. Well, Time Magazine has just named the Person of the Year. Just thought I'd share that with you. No surprises here. What did I tell you was being talked about every single day on the news? The Pope has been named Person of the Year. And runner-up was Ed Snowden. You go, guy. Should have been reversed, but that's my own opinion. Anyway, thank you for supporting the Power Mall. Miracle 2 is on special. You can get monthly copies of the Power Hour for $25 each. You'll get all the programs, but you got to have that little radio from Best Buy that's $49 that plays MPs, but it is available at Best Buy. I wonder how many we've sold for them. Also, Purium is on sale. The Sun Air Heaters and Purifiers, and if you don't know how good they are, call the Power Mall and they'll tell you how good they are. International Health Silver is on special. Give us a call at 877-817-9829, 877-817-9829, or go to thepowermall.com. And don't forget the Singing Revolution, which would be an awesome thing to play over the holidays if you have family coming in. Play the Singing Revolution if you want to inspire some people. We're talking about inspiration, Deborah Tavares today, and Deborah has a number of issues that are really important. They're based on documentation. The documentation is at her website, stopthecrime.net. Thank you, and go ahead, Deborah.
Thank you, Joyce. Yes, we're talking about the Climate Action Plan, and I'm going to go over just a partial list of what will be required on every single home. The government is going to be involved in every aspect of your home. And some of the items is that they're requiring smart meters be deployed upon every single home. Every home is to be retrofitted with Energy Star electric appliances, In our climate action plan and in the one that has already been approved in Santa Rosa, again, you can download that and look at what's in store for you in your town. They are eliminating all gas appliances and gas equipment. That includes gas lawnmowers. That also includes all gas equipment in building on construction sites. Everything is going to become electric. So why would that be? Well, of course, we know that technocracy created CO2 and global warming. And it was not the reason for the development of technocracy, which was a scheme scammed in the mid-1930s. They just didn't have the technology to create the technocracy. And what is that? It requires monitoring and measuring the distribution and rationing of energy resources. And the system must do the following things. It must register a continuous 24-hour per day basis, the total net conversion of energy by means of registration of energy converted and consumed, make possible a balanced load, provide continuous inventory of all production and consumption, provide a specific registration of type and kind of all goods and services where produced and where used, provide specific registration of the consumption of each individual, plus a record and description of the individual. And, of course, technocracy is a totalitarian system of government where scientists, engineers, technicians monitor and control all aspects of personal and civic life, economic, social, political, in which one party or maintains control of everything. And all distribution of energy resources, again, must be monitored and measured in order for this New World Order system to come into place. So here we are. We've gotten the opt-out in California and many cities across the nation where, in fact, you're not required to have the smart meter. You pay an extortion fee, as we do here in California, $75 to opt out, and then an additional $10 every month in your bill. Well, the opt-out is being taken away from all of us. The county board of supervisors and our local city council members, particularly in the areas that have opted out, it's very interesting. You have to wonder if they did that to appease their constituents, knowing that the climate action plan was on the heels and they could wash their hands of the idea that they had to continue to support the opt-out when they knew all along the climate action plans were coming into place requiring smart meters. And again, it's eliminating all gas. This is extremely troublesome. Again, by eliminating resource availability to all of us, the tighter controls can be implemented. And, of course, gas is cheap and that's being eliminated. But beyond the fact that it's requiring retrofitting, it's also going to tie into all multifamily ownership of rentals in the process of your annual business license. It's going to be tied to the requirement that all rental properties retrofit to Energy Star appliances. So they're going to increase the cost of rents, increase the cost of property ownership. There are many fines, penalties, and regulations associated with this massive scheme that requires not only smart meters, the elimination of gas, but it also requires that all new development be built with net zero electricity use by 2020. Well, what is net zero? Well, I'll tell you what the Department of Energy has to say about net zero. They say this is the real goal of energy use, and you can read this on stopthecrime.net on the Climate Action Plan link. They're aiming for zero. This is from the U.S. Department of Energy from their website. They say sustainability is not the same thing as zero energy. There is no such thing as zero energy. Energy does not exist in a vacuum. It always comes from somewhere and goes somewhere. Because there's always a cost to energy, trade-offs are inevitable in order to find a harmonious balance that offers the greatest efficiency and least impact on the environment. This is the ultimate goal, not to use energy. The most efficient energy is energy we do not generate. This is not a technology. It is a behavior modification or learning to live in a new reality. They want the United States to plummet back in pre-Columbian era. We can see that with the Wildlands Project. In fact, you'll see that also under the Climate Action Plan link on StopTheCrime.net, the map of California, where it shows these corridors that are falling outside of the planned development areas where there will be no human access allowed. And that is all part of the Climate Action Plan as well. It's unbelievable the layers of the silent weapon system assault that we're all facing. We also put on StopTheCrime.net a TED Talk with Bill Gates. Very important to hear that talk. Not only does he talk about reducing the population with his vaccines in the beginning of this talk, but he says his one wish for humanity is zero CO2 emissions. Well, that's why there's a massive reduction in global population, because there is no such thing as zero. And I just told you what the Department of Energy said. They're aiming for zero. Bill Gates wants zero. And when you look at the Climate Action Plan, the goal by 2050, that's 2050, is 80% reduction of CO2 emissions below 1990 levels. Now remember, they're really aiming for zero. I can tell you that they want to require solar and solar retrofitting on many different remodels, new construction, etc. That's a requirement. Again, they want 70% reduction and increased 70% utilities used from renewable resources. Well, the big problem and the big gorilla in the room here with this whole entire climate change conversation is that nobody is talking about the geoengineering. And just about a week ago, while searching for some of this climate change information, on the Harvard Kennedy School Belfer Center website, our research team found the Geoengineering Policy Research Fellowship request, and they say geoengineering is the deliberate large-scale manipulation of the Earth's climate. And they go on to tell us that they're looking for fellows that will assist with international discussions and researchers and policymakers to affect the policy on who will gain control ultimately of the manipulation of the weather. They go on to tell us in that link that the Geoengineering Policy Research Fellows will be expected to work in collaboration with the faculty at Harvard Kennedy School, along with international organizations such as Solar Radiation Management Governance Initiative to improve the understanding and the options for governance of geoengineering. They say because it appears that most individual states could readily use these tools to alter the global climate unilaterally. So right now, they're conspiring to create policies of global governance on the entire weather control operation that has been a secret that they won't talk about. And when I recently interviewed a weather meteorologist and asked what he saw on his devices with the chemtrailing or the geoengineering, he declined to admit that there was any such thing. But during the conversation, he did say, if there was such a thing, then of course all of the policies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions would really be for naught. We wouldn't need to do all of these things now, would we? And we would not want to admit to geoengineering because we need to encourage all of these policies. Well, what is really happening here is they're rewriting an entire new industry and a corporate history. They're collapsing the United States into the green technology ideas. They're collapsing everything about how we live in our homes. They're going to be radiating us with the smart meters. That's the ultimate goal, to get everything hooked up to smart meters. And we know that the smart meter is a mesh grid network of frequencies. It's been planned.
Okay, but let me stop you and say you've painted kind of a dire picture here. I mean, there are probably people sitting out there saying, I give up. That's it. I'm done. I mean, what can we say to people, though, Deborah, in the area of positive? Because I know our next guest, Marshall Masters, is going to be talking in terms of how we can change things and how things are starting to change. So you don't see any hope? It's just we're all going to die by Friday kind of stuff?
No, absolutely not. The hope is the fact that with knowledge we're not as easily deceived. We need to know that these climate action plans are in every city. They're in your city right now. And so what do you need to do about it? You need to understand what they entail. So by discussing what they entail, hopefully that will encourage people to march down to their cities, create local community groups so that you can understand, get this information out within your community, tell your city you do not want them to sign on to this climate action plan. They must resist these plans. And it's important because it is requiring smart meters. And smart meters, of course, is all disguised as promoting new energy efficiency when actually it's set up for deep spying and behavior modification programs, hooked up to fusion centers, facial recognition software, HD cameras in stores and schools, and attached to pulse beam microwave emitters to entrain our moods and block our thoughts. And, of course, all of this data is shared with NSA. So we must resist. We can't consent. The Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars says their victory is our consent. And we're consenting by lack of knowledge. So what do? We become informed with the policies that are occurring right now in your town. And you do not consent. You do not consent. Now, one of the most important aspects of this is that you must ask for the contract. We asked for the contract behind the climate action plan, and we received it. It's a memorandum of agreement where the cities already agreed to the climate action plan by accepting $1 million. The county has signed on, and all the cities will receive a portion of that to create their individual climate action plans. So they share $1 million to individually create the climate action plan. Now, we're being told at these meetings by the facilitators in fact, the county has selected ICF International. That's I, Charlie, F as in Frank. And this is who is controlling all the meetings. They're presenting all the literature that your local representatives are showing at your climate action meetings. This is a global consulting firm of massive manipulation. Just understand what you're dealing with. That is the battle, is understanding what the battle is. And you can't go into creating change if you don't know what the changes need to be. So by understanding what the climate action plan is going to require, complete monitoring of your home in every single way. If your car is idling over 5 minutes, you're going to get a ticket here.
Wow.
We're going to have specific routes within our urban areas for electric vehicles to be driven. Electric vehicles are going to be given the premier parking spaces. This plan goes on and on. It's going to require in new construction a 20% reduction in water use. Now, how they're going to achieve that is very difficult to understand. Again, it's going to likely require lots of in-home inspections because they're requiring weatherizing. Some of these things are good, and we should be conserving and be concerned with the environment. But it's all state-regulated. And what they're saying in the Santa Rosa Climate Action Plan that concludes in the plan with this sentence, in the event that the greenhouse gas reductions do not occur as expected, the city will be able to modify and add further policies to the C.A.P. Remember, that's Climate Action Plan. That really means controlling all people, to ensure the city meets the local reduction target. They go on to say that the jurisdictions can tap into general obligation bonds to fund the items from the Climate Action Plan. Translation, more unsustainable debt saddled onto our children and grandchildren. So we, by knowing, must not consent. We did not agree to these climate action plans. We did not sign these contracts. Your city did. Your cities are incorporated.
That's right. That's very important.
Yes, you need to understand you do not comply. You must now really forcibly protect your analog meters. For those of you that still have analog meters, you now really need to protect them. They're coming after all the analog meters. They want everybody transitioning into the required RFID chipped energy efficient appliances. But beyond that, again, they're going to have rebate programs by the utility companies. In fact, it's important to understand your utility companies and your public utility commissions nationwide are working with your local governments to enact these climate policy plans. In fact, it says here in the Climate Action Plan that is from the city of Covina in Southern California, and they call theirs the Energy Action Plan. So it's either going to be called the Climate Action Plan or the Energy Action Plan. It's very important on this plan in Covina in Southern California. Southern California Edison is the energy supplier down in that area, and it is funded by Southern California Edison. And they go on to say it is under the auspices of the California Public Utility Commission. So for people that have been going to your local public utility commissions in your state seeking requests to stop the smart meters, they're funding the Climate Action Plan or the Energy Action Plans to require that smart meters be deployed. This is a military deployment of frequencies. This is all a psychotronic weaponized warfare that we're in.
Okay, we got to go to this break. Got to go to this break. 3-minute break. Stay tuned. We'll be back with Deborah Tavares. And I want to know, how do we resist? How do we say no? StopTheCrime.net is one website. And, of course, the website we had on regarding smart meters yesterday. We'll be back. 3-minute break. Stay tuned. Joyce Riley and Deborah Tavares. This is the Power Hour. Welcome back to the Power Hour. Thank you for joining us. Caring about your world, doing the next right and honorable thing. Our guest is Deborah Tavares. Now, we want to know, how can we say no? How can we resist in all of this? What have you done to resist this, Deborah?
Yes, well, what we're doing here in Northern California is attending all of the meetings, about the presentation for the Climate Action Plan that just kicked off last week, and we're going to meetings tonight. Now, I want to say again, these meetings are all based on the Delphi technique, which is a predetermined outcome. It's very important to understand that the memorandum of agreement for this Climate Action Plan, everybody needs to go down to their planning department and request the contract behind the Climate Action Plan. In that memorandum of agreement, where they accept the $1 million amongst all of the cities to split for the creation of their individual Climate Action Plan, they say the county has selected ICF Jones and Stokes to act as the lead consultant for the GRIP. GRIP, GRIP, that's right, the C.A.P, controlling all people with the GRIP. That's what this is really about. And the GRIP stands for Greenhouse Gas Reduction Implementation Program. That's what this is. Now, when you research ICF, and this again is important, this is how you fight against this, is by knowing what your fight is. It's important to understand who ICF International is. It provides and furnishes all the materials, again, that are used in our local presentations. It is a multinational, international consulting firm of global manipulation. They have contracts with the CDC for marketing for the CDC. They work with the Department of Homeland Security for program support services. They enable climate change interventions in Central and West Asia. They also work with the IRS in measuring and improving customer satisfaction with the IRS. So it's very, very important to understand who is really behind the scenes of these local climate action plans. So you attend these meetings. You do not allow these meetings to be Delphied. First of all, they're supposed to put these meetings in the newspaper. We've gone to 4 meetings thus far. Again, this is a fundamental business change in every single city, and there were not more than 20 people. A good portion of them were the facilitators, and a good portion of them were people that wanted to ask questions about how the Climate Action Plan was supposed to work. Again, it requires managing of all parking supplies. It supports the urban growth boundary. Again, this is all part of the Wildlands Project. This is ultimately land theft through rules, regulations, and restrictions of rural property, because it's creating urban growth boundaries where you're not allowed to build outside of these urban growth boundaries. Well, you need to go find out in your city, what is your urban growth boundary plan? Find out if you're in it or out of it. Because if you're out of it, your roads are not going to be repaired. You're not going to be able to pull permits if you're in a rural area for an extra well or to build a barn. This is what is important for everyone to understand. You must learn what your current reality is. You must work locally to get this information out to as many community members as possible. Remember, when you go to these meetings, they're Delphi. They will not allow you to speak. They'll show you a PowerPoint. They'll tell you they will not take any questions, that you're then to go split up around the perimeter of the room and write your questions on these little Post-it notes and put them on board. So this is how these meetings are conducted. Don't settle for the way the meetings are conducted. I will tell you what it said in the local newspaper after the meeting we just attended. It says, climate disruption. I attended the first Climate Action Open House workshop, and I thought it was a great thing that local government was taking climate change seriously. Again, remember, and let everyone know this is a hoax. Global warming is a hoax. It's important to look at the Iron Mountain report, understand what came out in 1966 during John F. Kennedy's administration, and it came out after he was assassinated when Johnson was president.
Okay, we'll be back. We've got a 1 minute, 10-second break. We'll be back for our final 3 minutes with Deborah Tavares. Wow. And we've got so much more I wish we could do. We'll be back 1 minute, 10 seconds. Stay tuned. Joyce Riley with Deborah Tavares. Welcome back to Power Hour. Thank you for joining us. Deborah Tavares is our guest today. She is an independent reporter, independent investigator and researcher. Renee from North Carolina says there isn't enough duct tape on the planet to keep my head from exploding now on this one. She is really concerned about what you are saying. But, what do we do now? Where do we go? How do we handle this? And, of course,
that's what we're talking about, Joyce, right now. And how we handle it is by knowing what we need to handle. And we can't handle things that we do not understand or that we do not know. And everyone needs to, of course, go to the Iron Mountain report. You can watch it as a documentary, or you can download the report itself on stopthecrime.net. Understand the scheme was to invent a replacement for war, to invent something that was so critical to impact your life, your livelihood, etc. They invented global warming. They have been polluting us. The corporate structure has been polluting the globe. Understand there's real pollution, and they're polluting us. Look at what they're doing every day with the chemtrailing. They're dropping toxic dust on us. Look at the NASA war plan. It tells you of the dust that is boring into our lung tissue, committing various pathological missions. This is a war. We're the enemy, obviously. So in order to fight this, you must understand your reality, and you must look at these documents, understand what was told to us in the newspaper when we went to the meeting. You must stand up. You must not be embarrassed. You must not allow the Delphi technique to work. We were sitting there watching the PowerPoint and asking questions as the presenter, the facilitators, were presenting the PowerPoint. They told us we were rude and disrupting. We were not. We were asking questions. It was a public forum. Don't just sit there. Engage. Ask questions. And then you will see what we saw in the newspaper as a result of the way that we wanted to ask questions at the meeting, because they don't want questions. In the newspaper, it said that hooligans attended the meeting, that we interrupted the group and the facilitator. And instead of hearing public suggestions about carbon dioxide emission reductions, the purpose of the workshop, the hooligans did all they could to derail the meeting through various tactics of disruption. None of that is true. This is all manipulation put in the press, again, for propaganda, asking more people that believe in global warming, the lie of global warming. Now, what do? You present the facts about global warming, the fact that it was invented. You bring forward the geoengineering. For anyone out there that's not fully convinced about the scope of the weather manipulation, you need to get on that immediately, because that is global warming. I can tell you right now that what we are now seeing, chemtrails, is the climate action plan. And they do control the weather, they do control the climate, and now they're pushing policies to change the business model, rewrite the business model in every one everyone's town. This is going to have massive implications, again, on private property rights, rental housing, all the businesses. Of course, all the mega corporations are going to skirt around all of these fines, penalties, and regulations. They are dropping us into a corporate structure. This is a corporatocracy, and this is a scientific tyranny of massive assaults from the Silent Weapons Quiet Wars protocol. And so, again, Joyce, your question about what do we do, become aware. Look at all of the information that we have posted on the climate change link on stopthecrime.net. Call your city planning department now, today, and ask them if they're working on their climate action plan or their energy action plan. Go get a copy of that. But more importantly, ask for the contract. Remember, USA Inc., we're under corporate laws, under a corporate structure. Everything is contracts. And understand who's behind your climate action plan to rewrite the way you live in your home. And that's how we how we solve these problems, by knowing what the problems are.
Ladies and gentlemen. The only winning move is not to play their game. Now, if you say, oh, that's too much work, I don't want to have to go do that, well, you will suffer the consequences. Thank you, Deborah Tavares, for joining us today on the Power Hour.
Thank you so much, Joyce.
Thank you very much. Marshall Masters coming up next, and a big fake I got to tell you about.